Hello, welcome to day 6 of the 7-day journey. My name is Denise Silva. I am a certified spiritual trauma transformational coach. I am delighted that you are here. I can't believe we have one more day with this beautiful event that the Lord has led me to do, to share, to testify, to bring hope through His word, through His goodness, through this testimony, into just sharing how even when I thought it was impossible, that He can do the same in your life, regardless of what it may look like, regardless of what one may feel or think, that God shows up and He shows why He's powerful. He shows why He's merciful, and He shows why each day He's with us and helps us regardless of the circumstance. So without any further ado, let's start day 6. Today's chapter is Faith in the Face of Complaints. Trusting when all odds are against us. We'll start with the testimony. As I sat on my bed, waiting for God to speak again, my phone rang. It was my sister. I hesitated before answering. I wanted to be alone in my room, alone with my thoughts, but I built up the courage to share a bit of what I was going through, how I needed a job, something flexible, something soon. After she listened, instead of being corrected as I overthought, she answered with grace and comfort. She suggested I go back to doing food delivery. Now, I had done delivery work before, but it was just for a little extra cash. This time it would be to survive. I had a car, gas, and time during the day while my son was in school. It made sense. Although my sister meant well and her idea was perfect, I couldn't stop making excuses for why I shouldn't go out, why I didn't want to face the world. Yes, I was insecure about my face and my weight, but deep down, I had to ask myself, was I really ready to face more criticism? Was I ready for people to see me in this vulnerable state? I already carried so much shame within me. I didn't want to add more by exposing my outward flaws. But reality was staring me in the face, either staying at home, cooped up with no way to pay my bills, or step out and trust that God will provide. Even with the way I looked, even with the way I felt, even when it seemed like the odds were stacked against me, in that place of necessity, I chose to trust Him. After the call ended, I heard the still small voice of God whisper, "I am with you. I will give you the strength to push through. Focus on me and not on what people may think. You will get through this." His words gave me courage. 2 days later, I stood in front of the door, taking a deep breath. After weeks of staying home, trying to solve my problems and find a way out of my debt, I was about to face the world, not as the person I once was, but as the person God was shaping me to be. I was afraid. I didn't want to step out, but through that discomfort, I was ready to move forward, not just for me, but for my son as well. And now for the biblical reflection. Challenges can often appear more complicated depending on the person. One might see them as opportunities to grow, while another might see them as an overwhelming obstacle to overcome. Our perception of uncomfortable situations can and will shape what we believe about our own capabilities. The kind of support a person received growing up can certainly influence how they deal with challenges. Yet, there are also those who, regardless of the support they had, refuse to let any obstacle stand in the way of their growth. For the oldest generations of Israelites, however, even the smallest inconvenience seemed unbearable, so much so that they would rather turn back to Egypt than to face another hardship. To them, giving up felt easier than simply asking for what they needed. After the Israelites finished resting, they continued their journey from Elim to the wilderness of Sin. But once again, they encountered a new obstacle and quickly forgot about what God had done for them in Marah and in Egypt. They began to complain, longing for the days in Egypt when they had pots of meat, even though they were enslaved. Now, in their hunger, they struggled to trust that God would provide. Yet in His mercy, God sent bread from heaven and quail for them to eat. Their bellies were filled, and their hearts for the moments, were content. A few days later, they packed up their tent and encamped in Rephidim and then in Mount Sinai, the place where they would stay the longest in the wilderness. But even there, the complaints continued. They grumbled about their thirst, the lack of food, their own perceived weaknesses, and the leaders God had appointed over them. Time and time again, they compared their present to their past in Egypt. By this point, Moses had grown weary of their constant complaints, especially because they brought them to him instead of to God. Still, in his faithfulness, God provided. He spoke to them through Moses, gave them the 10 Commandments, taught them how to worship him in truth, and called them to surrender the false gods they once served in Egypt. It was their letting go process, and God was merciful through it all because soon they would be standing at the edge of their promised land. When I first read about the Israelites' complaints, I remember thinking, why did they grumble so much? Couldn't they see God was preparing them for the promised land? He always provided, yet they kept focusing on what they had in the past instead of what was ahead. The truth is, it's easy to question them now because we can read their story, skip chapters, and get to the part where they finally take possession of the promised land. But when I went through my own modern day wilderness, I realized I had complaints of my own too. In those moments, I didn't see how I could possibly let go of my worries after living in a constant state of anxiety for months. Being uncomfortable was not enjoyable, but God used it to grow me. He helped me to step out of the safe bubble I thought was protecting me, but was actually harming me, just as the Israelites' habit of longing for Egypt kept them from moving forward. Yet, just as God was merciful, patient, kind, loving, and forgiving with the Israelites, He was the same with me. And He will be the same with you. As we let go and trust Him more, He teaches us to be mindful of our words because they hold power. Our words can become either fruit or poison in our lives, shaping the atmosphere around us and the path before us. Now for the spiritual takeaway. Letting go isn't just about releasing the past, it's about trusting God in the present. The Israelites struggled because they couldn't see beyond what they had lost, but God wasn't taking them from them to harm them. He was leading them to something far greater. God has you in a place that may feel uncomfortable, where things seem to lack or it may not feel like enough. But in those very moments, He is teaching us that with what He provides, it's enough. It's enough for that season, it's enough for those moments. And while it won't always remain the same, these seasons are where He teaches us to trust Him, to let go, to wait on Him, and to know what He will provide. And to know that He will provide no matter how things may look. When we're in the wilderness, it's easy to focus on what's missing, what's hard, or what feels unfair. But God uses those moments to shape our character and prepare us for what's ahead. The delays are not His denial. They're His way of building us up so we can carry the promise without it crushing us. Even when we grumble, doubt, or question His plan, His love doesn't run out. He meets us with provision, patience, and grace. And every time we choose to trust Him, instead of turning back, we take one step closer to the place He promised. Now for the verses. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 4 through 6, and Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. And the reflection questions are, number 1, in what ways has complaining tried to change your perspective towards what God has provided for you today? Number 2, can you think of a time when God provided for you, even when your trust wavered? How did that moment remind you of His faithfulness? And number 3, what false beliefs or habits might God be asking you to release in this season so He can grow something new in your life? And now for the closing prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for being the same loving, faithful God today who hears my cries just as you heard the cries of the Israelites in the wilderness. You see the burdens I carry in the moments when the weight feels too heavy. I ask for your help in every obstacle that seems too difficult to face, especially when the struggles have gone on longer than I hoped. When complaining feels easier than trusting, gently correct my heart and turn my eyes back to you. Remind me that you are not holding me back, you are preparing me for something new. Help me not to long for the false comfort of the past, but to press forward into the future you have for me. When discomfort tries to drown my faith, let your peace wash over me like living water. Thank you for your patience when I doubt, for your mercy when I complain, and for your faithfulness in every trial. Even when I can't see the outcome, I know you are growing me, shaping me, and building my faith. I choose to trust your process and walk with you, one step at a time. In Jesus' mighty name I pray, amen. Yes, even there's moments where I find myself wanting to complain, but then I'm like, no. God has done so much in my life for me to go back to my old habits, to find an excuse to not want to move forward, or even the thought of it might be too difficult or too hard. But God reminds me and reassures me that when there was the hardest moments of my life, He was there, and He will be there in every season and in every day of my life, but not just in mine, but in yours as well. And I do apologize. Today the cars were just roaming by more than usual. But it is, today is a Monday, so could be why. But I thank you for your patience with the sound in the background. But yes, I'll now see you guys for day 7. Bye.